where it all is together, blissful. In other words, I'm just saying that when you're not feeling Maharaji, it's because you've put yourself in a position like under a tree, and you're not getting any sunlight. The tree of our minds. Tree of our minds. Like, where is he? I'm not getting any. That's all thoughts. You've covered your, thoughts about the phenomena of not feeling grace.
Can you share with us your greatest experience?
What'd you say?
Can you share with us your greatest experience of connection with spiritual love or grace or God?
The greatest, I think I've shared in here. I should probably share the second greatest. I can't resist sharing the greatest. It was when I first met Maharaji. He quieted my mind by knowing exactly what I've been thinking the night before, which he couldn't have known, according to my theories. And when my mind was giving up, I remember going through to the thing, if he knows that, he knows everything. And I cringed to look at a man who knew everything about me. And my eyes were lowered, and my eyes came up to his eyes, and I never saw such love. He was looking at me with love, and he knew everything. And I never felt unloved. I mean, I never felt as loved. Then that was his stroking of my ego and his cuddling me as soul. But that love just invited me in. It was like a royal road. And souls traverse on love.
Ramdas, you touched on the concept, the idea that if we use the word deserve,
The what?
the word deserve
Deserve, yeah.
separates. You had started an idea, and I wanted to hear more about that and how we can kind of shake free of that trap of we deserve.
Deserve. Deserve is like a money and banking. A deserve. You get a deserve at the bank. I think the ego gets caught in judging. And I deserve is a place of pure judgment. I deserve is not letting go of the past. And if you're going to come into a new moment, you want to come into it, here I am, and then really, you sure you want to be, I deserve? I guess you as a soul can deserve the one. That's the one we can deserve we can have.
When Maharaji would speak of Christ, what was his relationship to Christ?
Well, he spoke of Hanuman and Christ being the same. And he was the same as Hanuman, so brings them pretty close together, you know. Yeah. But I suspect all those things because there's one God, and it goes to its closet and has outfits. Jesus outfit, Buddha outfit, Maharaji outfit. So I just be there. They've been relationship, they've been clothes in the closet. Or they're one. Depends on where you look at it from. It's different strokes for different folks.
That makes me think of a question I had wondered about earlier. How does your Judaism, the fact that you were born Jewish, is that still a part of you? And how is it a part of you as compared to a religion, but this whole idea of, you know, ethnic and culture as well as religious beliefs? Does that stay? How is that with you?
My Judaism. That's what it's.
Well, that
Yeah,
you were born Jewish, right?
My Judaism. I was born a Jew. That is, to a Jewish family. And I was taught the rituals and the prayers. The Jewish life I was born into was service, was not study of the Torah. There wasn't a scholar in our family. In fact, when I had become a professor at Harvard, my father said, "What do you make on this thing?" My Jewish background introduced me to the social, political religion. I'll tell you a little story. I had just come back from India, and I was wearing an alfi, which is a potato sack, and beads, and long hair, long beard. And we were having the unveiling of my mother's stone. And the rabbi, who was the new rabbi at our shul, was very adoring to my father, because my father was an important Jew and the board of trustees and things like that. I have never met the rabbi, and the rabbi was wearing a soft hat, and he took me taking me by the elbow, as they are wont to do. So he said, "What have you been up to lately?" I never met the guy. I mean, well, how was I going to answer this? So I decided to tell him about Maharaji, miracles and stuff like that. And then he told me, when he was reading a book in theology class, theoretical, the book fell away, and the actual scene of out in the desert, and he was part of it, and he was telling it with such reverence. And I said, I bet that must have given strength to many of your congregation belief. He said, no. He said, I haven't told that to anybody but you. I haven't told my wife. He said, Judaism is a folk religion, and I am a rabbi of that. And I have no business having mystical experience. So that's what happened to my Judaism. It's love of learning. It's love. That's what comes from Judaism. It's love of good food. When I was in Israel, I went to the old city, and I spent some time there, and I saw what Jewish family was like. It was the town went quiet on Shabbos, and just like in India, the mothers were in the prayer, the candles. They had the spiritual center of the family, and that I don't think I got my spiritual development from Judaism. I've got a lot of values. I've got a lot of history that I don't know that I have. Zalman Schachter, who was a close friend of mine, he was a rabbi up in Canada. And we took LSD together, and we danced around with his tallis. And he was starting to introduce me to the mystical part of Judaism. And I've some other rabbis too then. Because I can't believe that Judaism is all politics. Yeah. It's interesting, though, the number of Buddhist teachers, American Buddhist teachers, who are Jewish. I can't figure it out. Now the non-Jewish ones are all beginning to left out, you know. They're beginning to feel like minority groups.
Das, I have recently been ill, and I find that I'm experiencing fear of this body convulsing again. And I'd like to ask you if you have any wise words of wisdom to help me place or replace this fear that can be quite overwhelming.
What do you do when you go into these thoughts?
When I go into the thoughts,
Yeah.
I think of my guru, I think about Ramakrishna. I divert, I go into the spiritual, but the fear makes my heart race, makes me sweat.
Now, wait a second. What is the fear of?
That I will have another convulsion.
Now, what are the convulsions like?
Grand mal, seizure.
Grand mal, seizure.
Epileptic seizure.
Yeah, but what do they do to? Why are you afraid of them?
Well, a physical reason that I'm afraid is when I had one several days ago, I fell on my head and fractured my skull. So there's the physiological concern of tearing my body apart.
Well, that would suggest you sit on the floor because you're somebody with grand mal seizures. Instead, until you invite in the grand mal seizure, then you won't be who you really are. You can deny but it's going to keep you frightened all the time. Frightened, this bad thing is going to envelop you. The bad thing is you. And it's a friend. It is a friend too.
I understand that. I have experienced it as grace and as a huge removal of karma. And there's the other unfortunate human aspect of me being afraid.
I think that if you're not willing to change your life, you're going to be afraid. If you wanted to witness this, witness the woman with grand mal seizure, then you wouldn't be afraid, because souls do not get grand mal seizures, just like they don't get stroke. I don't really know a frightened soul. I know a frightened ego. Because the ego can lose his life with a grand mal seizure. But a soul, well, that's an interesting way to go out.
I don't want to hurt anybody else either.
You mean you fall on somebody?
No. The law says I can't drive for 6 months.
What?
The law says I cannot drive for 6 months. I don't feel like I ever want to drive again. I don't want to be in a car and hurt anybody.
Well, you know, I was a driver. I had a Manji, and I was a driver. And then I got this, and they said I shouldn't drive. So I became somebody who chauffeured, and I'm just look around. I instead of looking the road, you can look around because somebody else is looking at the road. And I'm a happy passenger. It's great fun. You see many more things. See a lot of these, you can't drive. Wow! You know, it's like in prison, the solitary is solitary, you know. It's like the monk's cell by the state's grace.
Ramdas, I had one more thing. You've mentioned twice.
It's her third question.
You mentioned twice about a good woman or mom as the spiritual center of the family. What's the dad?
What's the dad? Well, he's the guru of the mom. See, the mother is the center of this family, but the father is like, and the mother keeps, like, she supports him coming, the inner work.
So my dad was right when he hit me and told me he was God?
Well,
Why can't the woman be the guru too?
They are. Your dad hit you and said he was God. Wow. Wow. See, the Indian thing is just that two people are going to tend, and one is towards God, and one's going the mountains, and he's adventurer and planning and things like that. And the mother keeps the family together and keeps the food and keeps the raiment, keeps the whole thing so that he can do that traveling for the family. That's the way I understand it. You think it's funny? You just, the 3,000 years of written text, and you would think it's funny, huh?
Yeah, so maybe she goes off in the mountains too. Maybe she has to go off in the mountains.
Maybe she goes off in the mountains.
Do all of that other stuff too.
And he becomes the house husband. I just, it's not in my Indian file.
Well, that's life.
There are some beautiful, beautiful beings like Anandamayi Ma. She is she was exquisitely beautiful. Just beautiful inside. Beautiful inside. And I'm sure this bookstore has books on Anandamayi Ma. Some picture books. Ooh. Those kind of women. Whether we're in a female body or a male body is another incarnational trip.
Why was your guru a male?
Why was my guru a male? Jesus. Well, his father's sperm. No, not that level.
I'm going back, I guess.
You're going to.
I'm going back to the beginning of your psychological life, I guess.
Oh, the psychological, my beginning psychological life.
Well, you were going to be a psychologist.
Well, I was touring the islands of Hawaii, and I had no invitation from the Big Island. And I came, invitation said, we are a meditation group and we would like to meditate with you. So I looked forward to this, and the plane landed. And there was an older man, and there was a couple, and it was a very wide-bodied truck, and we all sat in the front of the truck. And they were peculiar. They were just peculiar. Because, you can only go so far. They were developing a new language. And I tried to join in. I om. And then we came up into this camp of thatch-covered buildings. It was an old coffee mill. And they gave me a beautiful bougainvillea-covered place. And then the older man, who said he was the doctor, he called me, join him at his office. So I came in, and he said, I said, if I said yes, it'd probably get me in terrible trouble. Or no. Maybe. And then I used my om again. A beautiful girl dressed in a sarong came in bearing fruit. And he said, I said, well, where are the rest of the people here? He says, they're here. And he pulled a string, and a curtain wall was a curtain, and behind it was all these people. They had been watching my performance. So he said, your brother is crazy. I said, yeah. I said, was considered that way? And he says, your brother is the sane one. He said, your brother is the sane one. And I said, no. And they held me down. They were 30-something, and they held their hands on and I was, and they were doing, I don't know what they were doing, but all I got was a picture of my mother holding me down I was having a temper tantrum, and her hand on my chest, and and the crib was all there, all of it was there. Crib.